Hi, this is David Boji, and I'm inviting you to take the Personal Mindfulness Quotient Test. It takes about 2 minutes, and you can find it at perview.org. And you get a fantastic set of results. I hope you enjoy this film. Good luck.
Hey everyone, so today we're going to go beyond the usual stuff you hear about mindfulness. The meditation apps, the stress reduction tips. We're going to explore a much deeper, more profound side of it. One that challenges us to see our lives not just moment by moment, but as this whole interconnected web.
And really, it all kicks off with this incredibly powerful question from Thornton Wilder's classic play, Our Town. He asks, do any human beings ever realize life while they live it? Just think about that for a second. That question is right at the heart of what we're digging into today. Are we actually here for our own lives, or are we just kind of letting them slip by?
All right, so let's dive in. And the first thing we need to do is challenge what most of us think mindfulness is all about.
We've all seen it, right? It's in corporate wellness programs, there are a million apps for it, and they all promise to help us find calm by focusing on our breath and just being in the now. It's all about managing our own personal stress in what feels like a pretty chaotic world. But what if that's only half the story? And this quote from scholar Dr. David Boji just nails the central critique. He warns that when mindfulness is only about reducing our own stress, it's in danger of becoming just a way to cope, a way to adapt to a job we don't love, or a system that's kind of broken, instead of being a tool that actually inspires us to change things. So this chart, it really lays out the two different paths you can take. On one hand, you have conventional mindfulness, which is often about individual stillness, reducing stress, and focusing on the now. But this other side, which Dr. Boji calls quantum mindfulness, well, it has a much bigger goal, transformation. And it gets there by focusing on our entanglement, how we're connected to everything, and using things like shared storytelling to create change. It's a huge shift, really, from a private, internal thing to something we do together. But look, this isn't just some abstract theory. To really get what's at stake here, we can actually turn to a classic American play.
So Dr. Boji suggests that we should think of the play Our Town as a mindfulness exercise in itself. He even calls it a Western koan, like a riddle that's not meant to be solved, but just to be thought about deeply. The play's central question is so simple, but it's also incredibly profound. Are you going to notice the beauty in your everyday life before it's too late?
This quote comes from this absolutely heartbreaking moment in the play. A character named Emily Webb gets a chance to relive one totally ordinary day from her life. And she is just overwhelmed by how much beauty and meaning her family, who are still alive, are completely missing because they're all in such a rush. It's the tragedy of a life that's just not being appreciated. And that's the real problem the play points to. It's not that our lives don't have meaning. Of course they do. It's that we get so caught up in our routines, our to-do lists, that we just fail to see the miracle of it all while we're right in the middle of living it. And this, of course, brings the question right back to us, to you. What are the small but meaningful moments in your own routines, at your desk, in your meetings, on your commute, that are just flying by totally unnoticed? So, how do we break out of that trap? Well, the answer is in a completely different way of thinking about time itself. One that goes way, way beyond just the here and now.
This brings us to a really cool concept from Dr. Boji, quantum storytelling. The basic idea is that our lives aren't just a straight line, from A to B. They're more like a complex, tangled web. Think about it. Isn't a memory from your past influencing a decision you're making right now? And isn't a hope or a fear about the future already shaping how you act today? That is quantum storytelling in action.
This idea builds on the work of a physicist, Karen Barrad, and her concept of space-time mattering. I know, it's a mouthful, but the core idea is pretty revolutionary. She's basically saying we should stop thinking of time and space and physical objects and meaning as if they're all in separate little boxes. Instead, they're all part of one big, entangled reality. You can't separate the when from the where, from the what, from the why. They are constantly creating each other. Let's make this super real for a second. Just look at your desk. It is not just a piece of wood and metal sitting there in the present moment. No way. It's a field of tangled stories. It holds the memories of past frustrations and past successes. It's being shaped by the pressure of deadlines that haven't even happened yet. That desk isn't just an object. It's an active character in your story.
So what this really means is that true mindfulness isn't about emptying your mind to find some inner peace. It's about filling your mind with a much richer awareness. It's about becoming attuned to how all these different threads of stories and places and even our bodies are all woven together to create the things that actually matter. Okay, this might all be sounding very theoretical, but I promise it actually leads to a really practical method for creating real change, both in our own lives and in our organizations.
So, to put this all into practice, Dr. VuJaDé developed something called the Perview Toolkit. It's basically a framework for looking at a company's or a team's story from a bunch of different angles. It looks at concrete processes, the way stress shows up in our bodies, which he calls embodiment, and the powerful act of restoring our narratives. It even looks at things like the energetic vibrations in a room. But for today, we're going to focus in on the most actionable piece of this, restoring. So here's how restoring might work. Let's say a team feels totally trapped in the story that we are always behind. Instead of just meditating to cope with that stress, this approach would have them literally walk through their office and notice where that feeling of behindness actually lives. Then they would consciously work together to reauthor that story into something more empowering, something like, we are learning to pause and notice. Okay, let's explore how this whole framework just completely flips the script on how we approach things like coaching, leadership, and even our own personal development.
So instead of just handing a burnt-out team a meditation app, which is really just a temporary fix, this approach goes so much deeper. The goal is to reframe their entire relationship with time. It helps them see the past not as some heavy burden, and the future not as a constant threat, but as tangled parts of a story that they actually have the power to rewrite.
This whole way of thinking gives us a brand new set of coaching questions, and they're inspired directly by our town. You can forget about productivity hacks. These questions are about uncovering the meaning that is already there, just hidden in our daily routines. They push us to ask things like, what are the little wow moments that we're missing every single day?
And that leaves us with this final, powerful question from Wilder's play, aimed right at you. In your work, in your life, in your own town, what ordinary, everyday thing might reveal something extraordinary if you just paused long enough to look at it hard enough? What are you missing?